It's time to take 10 minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein.
Welcome to our discussion of Parashat Chukat, two modes of transmission. If you look at Parashat Chukat, there is in it a story that I believe is one of the most moving stories in the entire Tanakh. Tonight, I'd like to add one point of contrast to that. Firstly, let's look at the story. Hashem says, Moshe, that look, Aaron is going to go up to the mountain and he's going to die there. Bring Elazar and Aaron, Aaron's eldest son, and take off Aaron's clothes, and put them, you should put them on take off Aaron's clothes, you should put those clothes on Elazar. Rav Samson Frau Hirsch says, this is so amazing. Aaron was able, before he died, to see his son in his own image take over from his exact position. Now, does that mean he was wearing high priest garments? What exactly is going on? There's a halachic question, which is, they're on Horah, they're not in the Mishkan, they're not in the tabernacle. You can't wear the priestly garments on a mountain at the death site, putting aside the issues of impurity. But you should only wear them when you're doing the avoda. So, but all right, he told him to go there. Maybe that's what it means. So it's actually a debate. The Torah says no. There's no priestly garments over here. Rashi says it's priestly garments, but the Torah says no. He says take off his clothes, and he should put on tachrich hames. He should put on clothing for the dead, and Elazar should put on his garments, and he'll be inaugurated with this. So he is putting on the priestly garments, but there's also a wearing ceremony here that he's being given his death garments, his shrouds. The Sforno says that it was only a partial disrobing. That a Kohen and Gadol, a high priest, wears 8 garments. A regular Kohen wears 4. So Elazar comes there with his 4 garments. Aaron comes for this special ceremony with 8 garments. Takes off 4 garments, gives it to Elazar. Now Aaron sort of became defrocked, and Elazar has now risen to being promoted to the position of the high priest. So there's an interesting question of exactly what garments were given and how many garments, etc. But this notion of transmitting from one generation to the next through your garments, it appears in many places. For instance, unknowingly, King Saul takes off his special warrior garments and gives them to David, not knowing that he's actually giving the garments of kingship from himself to David. David didn't want to wear them. He would prefer a slingshot, but the garments were exchanged. Yaakov tried to do this with Yosef when he gave him the Ketonet Pasim, when he gave him that multicolored garment. He was trying to transmit to his son this the mantle of the next generation. It seems here that this transition is not so much personal but professional, meaning that he's not saying, Elazar, you're going to be just like me in general. You'll be just like me professionally, that you will have the status of the high priest, which indeed he did. But what I'd like to point out this year, I haven't pointed out in other years. In other years, we emphasized what an incredible story this is. A story of continuity, a story of a man before he dies, to see before his own eyes the transmission of his role to his son. It's remarkable. It's many people's dreams that their child should take over Lahavdil, the law firm, should take over the synagogue, should take over the school teaching, whatever they're doing, take over the business and transmit that to the next generation. That's one vision. And here Aaron achieved that. His son was going to do exactly what he did. That's what Kohanim do. They do exactly what they're supposed to do, exactly what their forefathers did. In fact, there's a notion that when it says that Lakacha Aaron Melo Machta, when it says in the Yom Kippur that Aaron should do this and Aaron should do that, it means that whoever is the Kohen Gadol is Aaron. The high priest forevermore is Aaron. So they literally stand in his shoes. But let's not forget that there's another model of transmission. And that's the model of Yaakov and his sons. The other most beautiful model of death, of a beautiful transmission of death, is Yaakov gathering his 12 sons around his bed and saying, you're this fast one, you're going to help the kings, you are going to be a king, you're going to be a warrior. Each one, you're going to have good land, each one blessed with different beneficences that Yaakov bestowed upon them. But what was Yaakov doing? Yaakov was saying, look, not everyone's going to be me. Maybe Yosef, maybe Yehuda will be like me. But maybe they'll be even greater. And maybe some of the tribes will be different than me. But each tribe has its own characteristics. So sometimes it's appropriate for a father to pass to their son, or a mother to pass to their daughter, the particularity, the peculiarity of their particular station in life, their particular personality, inclinations, loves, passions. And sometimes it's important for a parent to sort of step back and say, look, you're all different. I want you each to fulfill your inclinations, your professional talents, and your great abilities. So one of the great moments in Tanakh, yes. Moshe took off the garments off of Aaron. He put them on Elazar. That was the last vision that Aaron would have seen. Aaron Sham Broshar. And then Aaron dies. He's seen enough. He saw the absolute transmission. Elazar became Aaron. Beautiful. But it's not the only vision of parenthood. There's a second vision, the vision of standing at the bedside with all your different children, knowing each one is so different one from another, because that's the way kids are, and different from each other, perhaps different from you. And each one of them will be blessed in their own way. This too is a beautiful way to go to the next world, knowing you brought into this world people who are their own people on their own, and they each have unique, beautiful characteristics. Two images, two transmissions. A transmission of the direct nature and transmission that's more diffuse. A transmission that recognizes that we can't, it's not a computer program we can just plug into the next generation and that's it, but rather that there's creativity and there's generativity and there's a new blossoming that potentially could take place in every generation. Thank you for joining us here at the Baron Hirsch Congregation for our discussion of the Parsha and various holidays. Thanks to Jason Lefkowitz, our producer, and thank you for joining us today. Please like our videos and share them with others. Thank you.
This has been 10 Minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein.